Good wishes to all of you. Our past one, 8th chapter, Whittle villages, thriving towns. Prabhakar at a blacksmith shop. Prabhakar sat watching the smith at the local shop. There was a small bench on which iron tools like axes and sickles were laid out, ready for sale. A bright fire was burning, and two men were heating and beating metal rods into shape. It was very hot and noisy, and yet it was fascinating to watch what was happening. Iron tools and agriculture. We often take the use of iron for granted today. Things made of iron and steel are a part of our daily lives. The use of iron began in the largest collections of iron tools and weapons were found in the megalithic burials about which you read in chapter 5. Around 2500 years ago, there is evidence for the growing use of iron tools. These included axes for clearing forest and the iron plowshares. As we had seen, the plowshares was useful for increasing agriculture production. Other steps to increase production irrigation. The king and kingdoms you have been reading about could not have existed without the support of flourishing villages. While new tools and the system of transplantation, chapter 6, increased production, irrigation was also used. Irrigation works that were built during this time included canals, wells, tanks, and artificial lakes. Iron tools. Here is a set of captions. Choose the right one for each of the picture. Sickle, tongs, axe. Prepare a list of at least 5 objects made of iron or steel that you use almost every day. If you look at the chart, you will find that some of the stages in the constructions of irrigation works are mentioned. Fill in the rest by using the following phrases. Labor is provided by the people. Farmers also benefit because crop production is more certain. Farmers have to increase production to pay taxes. Kings provide money and plan irrigation works. Kings need money for armies, place for okay. Who lived in the villages? There were at least three different kinds of people living in most villages in the southern and northern parts of the subcontinent. In the Tamil region, large landlords were known as Vellar, ordinary plugmen were known as Uzvar, and landless laborers, include slaves, were known as Kadaisiya and Admai. In the north part of the country, the village headman was known as the Grama Bojaka, usually meant for the same family held the position for generations. In other words, the post was hereditary. The Grama Bojaka was often the largest landowner. Generally, he had slaves and hired workers to cultivate the land. Besides, as he was powerful, the king often used him to collect taxes from the village. He also functioned as a judge and sometimes as a policeman. Apart from the Gram Bojaka, there were other independent farmers known as Grihapatis, most of whom were smaller landowners. And then there were men and women such as the Dasa Karmakara, who did not own land and had to learn a living working on the fields owned by others. In most villages, there were also some craft persons, such as the blacksmith, potter, carpenter, and weaver. The earliest Tamil composition. Some of the earliest works in Tamil, known as Sangam literature, were composed around 2300 years ago. These texts were called Sangam because they were supposed to have been composed and compiled in assemblies known as Sangams of poets that were held in the city of Madurai. See map 7, page 113. The Tamil terms mentioned above are found in Sangam literature. Finding out about cities, stories, travelers, sculpture, and archaeology. You may have heard of the Jatakas. These were stories that were probably composed by ordinary people and then written down and preserved by Buddhist monks. Here is part of a Jataka story, which tells us how a poor man gradually became rich. The clever poor man. Once upon a time, there was a clever poor young man lived in a city. His only resource was a dead rat. He started off by selling it for a coin to a hotel for their cat. Then one day there was a storm. The king's garden was littered with branches and leaves, and the gardener was at a loss as to how to clear the mess. The young man offered to clean the garden if he could keep the wood and leaves. The gardener agreed at once. The young man rounded up all the children who were playing, with an offer of sweets for every stick and leaf that they could collect. In no time, every scrap had been neatly piled near the entrance. Just then, the king's porter was on the lookout for fuel with which to bake his pots. So he took the whole lot and paid the young man for it. Our young man now thought of another plan. He carried a jar full of water to the city gate and offered water to 500 grass cutters. They were pleased and said, "You have done as a good turn. Tell us, what can we do for you?" He replied, "I will let you know when I need your help." He then made friends with a trader. One day the trader told him, "Tomorrow a horse dealer is coming to town with 500 horses." Hearing this, our young man went back to the grass cutters. He said, "Please give me a bundle of grasses each, and don't sell your grass till mine is sold." They agreed and gave him 500 bundles of grass. When the horse dealer could not buy grass anywhere else, he purchased the young man's grass for 1,000 coins. List the occupations of the persons mentioned in the story. For each one, try and decide whether they would have lived only in the city, only in villages, in both cities and villages. Why do you think the horse dealer was coming to this city? Do you think women could have taken up the occupations mentioned in the story? Give reasons for your answers. Facing Facing Pace, Ringwell, found in Delhi. In what ways do you think the system of drainage was different from that of the Harappans? We can use other kinds of evidence to find out about life in some of these early cities. Sculptures carved scenes depicting people's lives in towns and villages, as well as in the forest. Many of these sculptures were used to decorate railings, pillars, and gateways of buildings that were visited by people. Look at the images below. A sculpture from Sanchi. This is a sculpture from Sanchi, a site with stupas in Madhya Pradesh, showing the scene in a city. You will learn more about Sanchi in chapter 12. Notice the way walls are shown. Are they made of brick, wood, or stone? Now look at the railings. Are they made of wood? Describe the roofs of the buildings. Many of the cities that developed from about 2500 years ago were capitals of the Mahajanapadas that you learnt about in chapter 6. As we had seen, some of these cities were surrounded by massive fortifications walls. In many cities, archaeologists have found rows of pots or ceramic rings arranged one on top of the another. These are known as ring wells. This seems to have been used as toilets in some cases, and as drains and garbage dumps. These are usually found in individual houses. We have hardly any remains of places, markets, or of homes for of ordinary people. Perhaps some are yet to be discovered by archaeologists. Others made of wood, mud, brick, and thatch may not have survived. Another way of including out about early cities is from the accounts of sailors and travelers who visited them. One of the most detailed accounts that had been found was by an unknown Greek sailor. He described all the ports he visited. Find Burroughs on map 7, page 113, and then read his description of the city. The story of Bariagaza, the Greek name of Baruch. The gulf is very narrow at Bariagaza and very hard to navigate for those coming from the sea. Ships had to be steered in by skillful and experienced local fishermen who were employed by the king. The imports into Bariagaza were wine, copper, tin, lead, coral, topaz, cloth, gold, and silver coins. Exports from the town include plants from the Himalayas, ivory, agate, carnelian, cotton, silk, and perfumes. Special gifts were brought by merchants for the kings. These include vessels of silver, singing boys, beautiful women, fine wines, and fine cloth. Make a list of all the things imported and exported from Bariagasa. Underline at least two things that were not in use during Harappan times. Why do you think merchants brought gifts for the king? Punch marked coins. Punch marked coins were generally rectangular or sometimes square or round in shape, either cut out of metal sheets or made out of flattened metal globes, a small spherical body. The coins were not inscribed but were stamped with symbols using dice or punches. Hence, they are called punch marked coins. These coins are found over most part of the subcontinent and remained in circulation till the early centuries. See, coins. You must have noticed now wealth is measured in terms of coins in the story on page 90. Archaeologists have found several thousand of coins belonging to this period. The earliest coins which were in use for about 500 years were punch marked coins, such as the one shown below. Other mean of exchange. Read the short poem from the Sangam collection. As they carry the white pad of their land to exchange it for the salt of another, crossing the long roads in carts through sand white as moonlight, taking old families who had to be left behind. The departure of the salt merchant leaves the city empty. Salt was produced plentifully along the sea coast. What are the merchants planning to exchange it with? How are they traveling? Cities with many functions. Very often, a single town was important for a variety of reasons. Let us look at the example of Mathura. Map 7, page 113. Mathura has been an important settlement for more than 2500 years. It was important because it was located at the crossroads of two major roads of travel and trade, from the northwest to the east and from north to south. There were fortifications around the city and several shrines. Farmers and herders from adjoining areas provided food for people in the city. Mathura was also a center where some extremely fine sculpture was produced. Around 2000 years ago, Mathura became the second capital of the Kushanas, about whom you will be reading in chapter 10. Mathura was also a religious center. There were Buddhist monasteries, Jaina shrines, and it was an important center for the worship of Krishna. Several inscriptions on surfaces such as stone, slabs, and statues have been found in Mathura. Generally, these are short inscriptions recording gifts made by men and sometimes women. to monasteries and shrines. These were made by kings and queens, officers, merchants, and craftspersons who lived in the city. For instance, inscriptions from Mathura mention goldsmiths, blacksmiths, weavers, basket makers, garland makers, perfumers. Make a list of the occupations of people who lived in Mathura. List one occupation that was not practiced in Harappan cities. Crafts and craftspersons. We also have archaeological evidence for crafts. These include extremely fine pottery, known as the Northern Black Polished Ware (NBPW). It gets its name from the phase that it is generally found in the northern part of the subcontinent. Remember that the archaeological evidence for many crafts may not have survived. We know from texts that the manufacture of cloth was important. These were famous centers such as Varanasi in the north and Madurai in the south. Both men and women worked in these centers. Many craftspersons and merchants now formed association known as shrines. These shrines of craftspersons provided training, procured raw material, and distributed the finished product. Then shrines of merchant organized the trade. Shrines also served as banks where rich men and women deposited money. This was invested, and part of the interest was returned or used to support religious instructions such as monasteries. Northern Black Polished Ware (NBPW). NBPW is a hard wheel made metallic looking ware with a shiny black surface. The potter used to expose the earthenware to very high temperature in his kiln, which resulted in the blackening of its outer surface. A black fine slip was also applied on this, which gave the pottery a mirror like shine. Rules for spinning and weaving. These rulers are from the Arthashastra mentioned in chapter 8. They describe how spinning and weaving could be done in workshops under the supervision of a special official. Special official. Widows, young women who are differently able, nuns, mothers of courtesans, retired women, servants of the king, women who have retired from service in temples may be used for processing wool, bark, cotton, hemp, and flax. They should be paid according to the quality and quantity of work. Women who are not permitted to leave their homes can send maid servants to bring the raw material from the superintendent and take the finished work back to him. Women who can visit the workshop should go at dawn to give their work and receive their wages. There should be enough light to examine the work. In case the superintendent looks at the woman or talks about anything other than the work, he should be punished. If a woman does not complete her work, she will have to pay a fine and her thumbs can be cut off. Make a list of all the women who could be employed by the superintendent. Do you think women would have faced any problems while working? A closer look Arikamedu. Find Arikamedu in Puducherry on map 7, page 113, and read the box on Rome on page 96. Between 2200 and 1200 years ago, Arikamedu was a coastal settlement where ships unloaded goods from distant lands. A massive brick structure, which may have been a warehouse, was found at the site. Other finds include pottery from the Mediterranean region, such as amphoria, tall double handled jars that contain liquids such as wine or oil, and stamped red glazed pottery known as earthenware, which was named after a city in Italy. This was made by pressing wet clay into a stamp mold. There was yet another kind of pottery which was made locally, though Roman designs were used. Roman lamps, glassware, and gems have also been found at the site. Small tanks have been found that were probably dyeing vats, used to dye cloth. There is plenty of evidence for the making of beads from semi precious stones and glass. List the evidence that indicates that there was contact with Rome. Tamil Brahmi inscription. Several pieces of pottery have inscriptions in Brahmi which was used to write Tamil. Elsewhere, find Rome on map 6, page 84. This is one of the oldest cities in Europe and developed around the same time as the city in the Ganga Valley. Rome was the capital of one of the largest empires, one that spread across Europe, North Africa, and West Asia. Augustus, one of the most important emperors who ruled about 2000 years ago, said that he found Rome a city of brick and made it into a city of marble. He and later rulers built temples and palaces. They also built huge amphitheaters, open arenas surrounded by tiers of seats, where citizens could watch all kind of shows and public baths with separate timings for men and women, where people met and relaxed. Huge aqueducts, channels to supply water were built to bring water to the city for the baths, fountains, and toilets. Why do you think the amphitheaters and aqueducts have survived? Imagine you live in Bari Agaza and are visiting the port. Describe what you would see there. Keywords: iron, irrigation, village, port, ringwell, city, Shreni, Sangam. Let's recall. Fill in the blanks. Veller was a word used for large landowners in Tamil. The Grama Bojaka often got his land cultivated by the slaves. Plugmen were known as Uzvar in Tamil. Most Grihapatis were small landowners. Describe the functions of the Grama Bojaka. Why do you think he was powerful? List the craft persons who would have been present in both villages and cities. Choose the correct answer. Ring wells were used for drainage. Punch market coins were made of ivory. Madura was an important religious center. Shrines were associated of craft persons. Some important dates: beginning of the use of iron in the subcontinent about 3000 years ago. Increase in the use of iron cities punch market coins about 2500 years ago. Beginning of the composition of Sangam literature about 2300 years ago. Settlement in Adkamedu between 2200 and 1900 years ago. Let's discuss which of the iron tools shown on page 87 would have been important for agriculture. What would the other tools have been used for? Compare the drainage system in your locality with that of the cities mentioned in the lesson. What similar and difficulties do you notice? Let's do. If you have seen craft persons at work, describe in a short paragraph what they do. Hint: how do they get the raw materials? What kind of equipment do they use? How do they work? What happened to the finished product? Question number 8. List the functions performed by men and women who live in your city or village. In what ways are these similar to those performed by people who lived in Mathura? In what ways are they different? Thank you.